Welcome back. So today I'm talking about how to actually use our tuners and metronomes for our practice sessions. So when I'm practicing, um, in general, I like to have both a tuner, a metronome, and a drone. And for those of you that know how I work and how a lot of musicians work really, the tuner and the metronome, or the tuner and the drone are kind of the same thing, but also serve different purposes. So when I'm playing, I like to have all three going on. The drone helps me just keep centered and keep my pitch centered so that when I'm playing, I always have something to refer back to, because a lot of times when we're playing, we lose our center of pitch and it fluctuates up and down, especially as we get tired or if we're too stressed out, whatever. There are so many factors that play in pitch that we just need something to kind of keep us leveled and grounded and anchored down. So when I'm playing, get my metronome, and let's say I'm playing a piece that is at, let's say 100. So I'll set it to 100. Now, I typically do not play with a specific beat pattern. So, for example, a lot of times tuners and metronomes will have an option that will say you're going to play at 100, and then also it'll give you a beat pattern. So, you know, like your typical 4/4, 3/4, 2/4, 6/8, what have you. So I do use this sometimes, and it sounds like this for all of us that need to hear it. So the downbeat 4 is that emphasized beat. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, when I'm playing, a lot of times I don't necessarily need that enforcement or need that extra layer of help with my rhythm. That isn't to say that you shouldn't use it, and for my younger students, if you're probably high school or younger, you should definitely have your beat pattern going on all the time if you're using a metronome like this. A lot of times I will just use a click, just something to keep me going, something to keep track of, just to keep going. And in old school metronomes, like the pendulum metronome I have, it doesn't have the option to emphasize a certain beat. So I will set that to just whatever, let's say again, about 100, and it just goes. And that will just keep going throughout my entire practice session. So that's the very first thing, is the metronome. The next thing is to have a tuner. Now I am going to use my TM50, and I'm just going to put my tuner on. And this I just put on my stand, it's in my face so I can see it, and it's just going. It's just kind of there to keep track so that when I'm playing, I know what's going on. So that goes on my stand. The last thing I have on, like I said, is the drone. And the drone is there, again, for center pitch. Because as we're playing, a lot of times, whether you're a string player or a woodwind player, vocalist, not really pianist or percussionist, because you know, don't need that necessarily, unless you're a timpanist, you know, or a brass player. Then I have a drone, and for that I use my Korg TM or TDM3, KDM3, excuse me, and I'll just put this on whatever note or whatever key the piece is in. And then I will just have that playing. So let's say that it's in D. So I'll go down to D, and then turn it all the way up. Now, I'll have, like I said, my metronome going. I have a pendulum metronome over here. I have my tuner that'll keep on my stand, and my drum. And all three of those things are going on at the same time, so that when I'm listening and playing and practicing, they're all perpetually going and keeping me centered rhythmically and pitchly, if that's a word. I'm pretty sure it's not a word, but you get the point. And so when I'm playing, whether that's violin, bassoon, whatever, all three of those things are going on at the same time. And we're constantly adjusting to that pitch, in this case D, making sure that they're all the notes in that scale are relative to that D. Now when you change keys, you do need to change the pitch on your drone, and be mindful that when you're going from key to key, the same notes will not necessarily sound the same to your drone because of the harmonic series of that note being different. So it's something important to know and something important to think about when you're practicing, so that when you're going back and forth and when you're looking at the tuner that you have on your stand like I do, that it might register as being a little bit off, which to an extent is going to be okay to fill in the chord properly and for it to work in the harmonic progression. So that's something important to note, that when you're playing with a drone, it might sound a little bit off. Now, you have to make sure that it sounds right with a drone. The tuner's just going to freak out a little bit, which is fine. If you have more questions about that, feel free to get in contact with me. We can talk about the harmonic series and how that affects the drone and the tuner and how those two things intermingle. And if you can't figure out what to do, make sure you ask me, your teacher, or ask another teacher, ask another musician who is knowledgeable about this subject, and we will make